Now we move on to presidential politics. Republican candidates now offering praise for the latest candidate to drop out, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. Take a listen.
He is a very, very good fellow. For some reason, it just was not catching on.
I'm a big fan of Scott Walker's service as governor of Wisconsin. I'm surprised he got out, frankly. He's got lots of service to continue to provide. He'll continue to be a good governor.
So Walker surprised most campaign watchers yesterday afternoon with the announcement of his departure. Factors included poor showings in the polls and debates, his own gaffes, and a difficulty to overcome the Trump phenomenon. Interestingly, when Walker discussed the reasons for his departure, he left with a parting jab at the Republican frontrunner.
I encourage other Republican presidential candidates to consider doing the same, so that the voters can focus on a limited number of candidates who can offer a positive, conservative alternative to the current frontrunner.
Justin Sayfie is a Republican strategist and former spokesperson for Jeb Bush. Justin, great to have you with me. And we look at what happened for Scott Walker. He really started as a favorite, even gave a well-received speech in Iowa in January, then he declares in July, and 10 weeks later, he's out. So what happened? He was a rising star that then became just a shooting star to fade?
Well, it's really remarkable when you think about it, because as you said, back in April, May, after he gave that speech in Iowa in January, everyone thought that Scott Walker was a top-tier candidate. Now here we are. If you would have asked somebody back then if he would have been out of the race by October 1st, people would have said you were crazy. I think it's a telltale sign, though, also, if you live by the polls, you die by the polls. And, if I were Donald Trump, I'd be very concerned about this, because he's riding high in the polls now, and who knows what the future holds for any of the front runners.
So when we look at Walker's super PAC, Justin, they did raise a considerable amount of money. It's estimated it would have raised about $40 million by the end of the year. Donald Trump self-funded. So why did the donor class super PACs all dry up on Scott Walker?
Well, I do think that part of it has to do with how you're performing in debates, how you're performing on the campaign trail. And for Scott Walker, he was really never able to generate that excitement after he generated that excitement initially in Iowa. And I think that's the other part of this that is interesting, is that he, because of the geographic proximity of Iowa to Wisconsin, people thought that he was going to be the front runner and have a really good chance to win Iowa. But now the fact that he's out, I think tosses Iowa wide open. It's wide open for any of the other nominees. When
you say wide open, let's look at that, because Walker was polling in the low single digits, according to NBC News. Right. So who benefits the most with him suspending and leaving?
I think it's hard to say really who benefits the most. I mean, obviously, I think that the people who liked him, the people who he had appealed to, was his conservative record of accomplishment as governor of Wisconsin. If you look at the other candidates, I think it helps someone like a Jeb Bush, who obviously has a conservative record of accomplishment that I think is best of class in terms of the other candidates. And so I think that if people are like the Scott Walker model of conservative leadership, I think that someone like Governor Bush will be a place that they might turn to now.
All right, we shall see how it all unfolds moving forward. Republican strategist Justin Sayfie. Justin, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Thomas.